This is Dr. Anisha S. from the Department of Botany, St. Albert's College Autonomous, Ernakulam. Today, we will be discussing about a technique called micropropagation. We know that plants undergo propagation by a number of methods, mainly by seeds, which is a product of sexual reproduction, and there are a number of vegetative methods possible for propagating plants. The vegetative methods can be categorized as artificial and natural methods. The natural methods include rhizomes, runners, like that, and artificial methods, there are a number of methods that we follow, like cuttings, grafting. Different methods are followed. Micropropagation is one such method which is used for propagating plants, and the interesting aspect is we can get a large number of propagules. For a definition, micropropagation can be defined as the practice of rapidly multiplying stock plant material to produce large number of identical copies of plant as the mother plant. And the technique that is used for doing micropropagation is plant tissue culture. It is basically using plant tissue culture for producing a large number of propagules. So, since it is based upon tissue culture, the tissue culture methods form an integral part of micropropagation. Now, coming to the technique of micropropagation, it has been broadly divided into 5 stages, starting from stage 0. Stage 0 involves the maintenance and development of stock plants, the plants which will be used to collect explant material for doing micropropagation. So they are generally grown in healthy surroundings so that we can get good plant material for doing micropropagation all the time. Stage 1, that is the second stage of micropropagation. It involves the inoculation or initiation and establishment of cultures. So, standardized tissue culture media, depending upon the plant species and the plant material that is being used, such media are used for establishing, for starting cultures. So, a good amount of standardization is required to get to this stage. Once standardized, the same media, the same kind of explant can be used every time to get the desired kind of results. The next is stage 2. Stage 2 is once the culture is established, then we expect shooting or the formation of embryos, that kind of formation in the cultures. So once the culture is established, the second stage is development of shoots in the culture. Stage 3 is rooting, whereby subculturing is done, that is, the shoots are transferred to the next appropriate medium for inducing the formation of roots. Once the roots are formed, the plantlets can be transferred to field conditions, which forms the stage 4, and this transfer is carried out in a phase by phase manner so that the plants remain intact and are not undergoing any shock of transfer from culture conditions to field conditions. So this forms the basic technique of micropropagation, where there are 5 stages. In some cases, once the shoots are formed, they may be directly taken to stage 4, that is planting in field conditions without going for a rooting phase. Where such a process has been standardized, it can be followed. Now, the approaches for conducting micropropagation. Mainly, 3 approaches are followed. One is axillary bud proliferation, next organogenesis, and finally somatic embryogenesis. Axillary bud proliferation, as the term itself suggests, it makes use of axillary buds which are collected from plants. So we know that the leaves in their axil possess a rich cluster of meristematic cells in the form of axillary bud. This bud can be used for micropropagation, and once it is kept in a suitable medium, it has the potential to give rise to a number of shoots. This kind of potential is being utilized for conducting micropropagation. Now, in some cases, instead of axillary bud, even apical bud can be used, and generally the nodal region that carries the axillary bud is subjected for tissue culture. That is axillary bud proliferation. So generally we get multiple shoots in the axillary bud proliferation method if it is being followed. The second is organogenesis. As the name suggests, organ formation takes place. So root or shoot formation is induced in case of organogenesis, and it can be in either of two manners, either direct organogenesis or indirect organogenesis. Direct organogenesis means the explant will directly give rise to the organ. When kept in suitable culture media, you will get the development of either shoot or root directly from the explant that is being used. In case of indirect organogenesis, there will be an intermittent stage which is a callus, and this callus will give rise to the organ. So in indirect organogenesis, when the explant is being used, firstly it will give rise to a callus, and then this callus will develop into the organ. So there are two types of organogenesis, direct or indirect organogenesis. The third one is somatic embryogenesis. Firstly, I would like to tell you what are somatic embryos. Embryos that develop from vegetative cells or tissues, they are referred to as somatic embryos. So there is no gametic fertilization involved in the development of somatic embryos. This kind of a formation is quite frequently observed in tissue culture systems, and the development of such somatic embryos is referred to as somatic embryogenesis. So, somatic embryos, when they are formed in plant tissue culture systems, they can be separated from the culture and they can be made to grow independently, and they will eventually give rise to intact plants. This potential is being utilized for micropropagation using somatic embryogenesis. Here also there can be direct somatic embryogenesis or indirect somatic embryogenesis. If it is direct, the explant will directly give rise to the formation of somatic embryos. And if it is indirect, there will be an intermittent callus phase, and the callus will give rise to the formation of somatic embryos. Now coming to the applications of micropropagation, since it is an artificial technique, it finds a lot of applications. The first is we can get a large number of propagules using micropropagation. The number of propagules depends upon how perfectly the technique is being carried out, and also the plant species that is being used. If the response is very good, we may get a very good number of propagules every time we do the micropropagation. Then another significant thing is the propagules, they will all be alike in their properties. So for commercially valuable plants, getting a uniformity in characters is a very important thing that can be ensured using micropropagation. Another application is whenever disease-free plants are to be raised, Micropropagation can be used because apical meristematic tissues, they are generally free of any kind of pathogen, and that can be used for raising disease-free plants. Then in certain cases, the propagation by natural methods like seed formation is difficult, or the seeds produced may not be viable. In such cases, micropropagation can be used as a propagation method, especially in the case of endangered or significant plants from the perspective of conservation. Such plants can be propagated by using micropropagation. So, it is another good method for ensuring biodiversity conservation. And the advantages of micropropagation is that there is no dependence on seasons, and it requires very small space. And the starting material which is required for starting the cultures is also very minimal. So, micropropagation is a very efficient artificial method of propagating plants, which is based on plant tissue culture. I hope micropropagation is clear to all of you. Thank you.